Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It is a Thursday edition of the program. It is PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. With locations across the state of Florida and right there, Celebration Point in the heart of Gator Nation, go check out the good folks at International Diamond Center. The U.S. Open has cranked up. If you missed it last night, Georgia was eliminated. And Oklahoma, who had a losing record in the Southeastern Conference, will be playing for a national title in the series against the Tar Heels of North Carolina. A lot of soccer continuing today, but let's go to the Titan More Hotline and let's talk about a different type of football, the one that we like here in America, with our man, our Heisman Trophy voter, and college football analyst, Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Morning, Shane. Hope you're doing well, too. We are in a time that is amazing in a lot of ways. We have college football magazines out that we'll get into, but we also have Congress trying to help college football and what it does. And thank God the Brendan Sorsby thing is done, and when we can move on from something else. So it's been quite a week, hasn't it, Shane?
That is true. That is true. There's been a lot going on this week, Brent. Different meetings with different conferences. Kind of give us a rundown of what's going on around the country.
Yeah, there are several things that are happening during this time. The college football committee met yesterday in Denver. Nothing that's settled there. The issue still remains that the SEC wants to go from 12 to 16. The Big Ten wants to go to 24. So we're following that to see what's going to happen. Look, nothing's decided yet. The deadline for that is December the 1st, but I'm really hoping that they will have something done before then. Still having a lot going on in Congress with this Cantwell and Cruz bill as they discuss what to do in this Protect College Sports Act. We won't get into too many of the weeds with all this. I still think, Shane, some of this is positive in keeping college football from being sued here and there or left and right. So they're trying to figure this out. So it's a very unusual as far as activity in the month of June. I remember years ago there wasn't much going on. We were trying to get news everywhere we could find it, but that's not the case anymore, is it?
No, not at all. We got some questions shooting in here on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Barone 71 wants to know, Brett, if you see any more conference expansion in the next half decade, will the very few quality ACC football programs look to go to the SEC or Big 12 or I don't know what, I guess a Big 12, Big 10?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's been a lot more about that this week as far as expansion, and we don't know exactly what that's going to be. Look, the best thing I've ever heard about expansion is this quote, and it's expansion is not dead, it's just dormant, which means it's just quiet. But expansion still is going on. I've heard and read the same thing, and people I've talked to concerned about what's going to happen with the ACC. Now, again, a lot of these contracts are going to come open in 2030, 2031. We're already in 2026. And Shane, the reality is for expansion, a lot of this stuff is not going to wait until the contracts come open. I mean, we're going to have an idea of what's going to happen years before that happens. But behind closed doors and so forth, there's still plenty of talk about it. So yes, there's further expansion coming.
You talked about magazines. I know Athlon's, Lindy's, majority of them have come out. Are you only waiting on Phil Steele, or are there more you're waiting on?
Well, the Phil Steele will be coming out around the 4th of July. Shane, that's going to be about 360 pages, if you can imagine that. Now, the latest one to come out is ESPN has a magazine, if you can believe that. This is something we have not seen from them in quite a while. They're predicting that Ohio State wins the national championship. Oregon 2, Georgia 3, Notre Dame 4, and Texas is 5. Miami is 7, which is pretty well where they are and everywhere. LSU is 10, Ole Miss is 8, A&M is 9, Alabama's 15, Tennessee is 25. They've got to figure out a quarterback and get that offense going, I think, in order to do that. So as of the moment, we've got ESPN, Athlon, Lindy's, and Sporting News has come out again. People, I think, would probably know. But yes, we're pretty much everything is out right now except for Phil Steele, who is around the corner. So that will be interesting to see who Phil Steele has as his national champion.
Brent, can you please explain to me, Fox, well, first of all, Arizona State and Kansas are going to be playing in London. Can you explain to me why?
No, I really can't. There are, we had another game that was supposed to be, and it was actually an ACC game that was supposed to be, I think it was in Brazil, that was canceled. So what Shane's talking about is for instance, Fox is sending their big noon kickoff to London on September the 19th for Arizona State and Kansas. This is the same week that LSU is at Ole Miss, that the storylines for that one will be never ending. Frankly, now Arizona State, Kansas will be the noon game. Also on, now this is on FS1. Kent State and Ohio State's on Fox. So, Shane, maybe we'll have more further explanation of this a little bit later on. Isn't that one of the more bizarre TV things you've ever heard of?
Yeah, and I don't understand these college games being played in other countries. I understand the NFL. They're always trying to grow the fan bases or what have you, and people over in Scotland and different places, Brazil, where they know who Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are. They don't know one player that plays for Arizona.
Mm-hmm. True.
So makes no sense to me. On the Titan Mar text line, Gator Josh from Waimoma says, Brent, who would you say are the top 5 players in college football heading into the season next year in regards to the Heisman Trophy race?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I would probably let me grab I've got a list here. Let me get that, and I will get to that as soon as I can. But
while you're looking for that, I'll give Ruse Ogre a little pub here. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. I mean, Arch Manning's going to be the favorite.
Well, there's no question about that. Arch is. I think he will be. Matter of fact, if you were betting on it right now, I think that would have to be going on. Gunnar Stockton, believe it or not, I think is going to be looked at by some people as a real possibility. And I'll tell you another thing that might happen, and I really hope that he gets it together and he's able to play. But one thing that we've been following is this Missouri situation and with their running back and what's going to happen with that. And I'm talking about Ahmad Hardy. Ahmad Hardy was shot he was at a party. And if he is healthy, he could make a run for it too. Now the Heisman Trophy, unfortunately, Shane, has been going to quarterbacks as much as it has anything else. The SEC has got a slew of them, but I would agree. I think Arch Manning would be probably the number one candidate coming out. We'll get a list of guys. It'll be about 100 of them. It's what it amounts to. But the reality is, Arch is by far the leading guy at this point.
Yep. All right, Brent, what's going on with the Alabama Crimson Tide?
I think for Alabama, what we've got is Bama's ranked, I would say, around 15 to 20 that we've got so far in the magazines. They've got 5 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. They got a walk-on that people talked about a little bit. John Gazina is a possibility. He is 6'7", 245. I'm not saying he's going to play. He did play in one game, but he is a huge kid, to say the least. If you're that tall and nearly to 250 pounds, so and I think that's the other thing. Alabama's really under the radar. And speaking of quarterbacks, they've got to find one. They're not sure who that's going to be right now. With Ty Simpson going to the NFL. So I think the biggest thing going on for them would be people maybe underestimating them, having them around anywhere from 15 to 20 in the recent ratings.
What's up with the Auburn Tigers?
Auburn is still doing really pretty well in recruiting. I give them credit for that. Rion Jackson, a 4-star edge rusher, committed to Auburn on Wednesday, chose him over Virginia Tech, 6'4", 218. So Auburn, with Alice Golish and his coaching staff, I think so far are doing rather well. They were, for what it's worth, in the ESPN.com ratings, they were at 14. That they're in the top 10 with some that you see. So I think so far so good for Auburn. But look, Auburn beat writers will tell you right now they just need to have a winning season and be able to get to a bowl game and get rid of this. They've had a lot of 5 and 7 years, and they're looking for some improvement.
Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, do the schools get extra money for playing abroad? If not, that's the dumbest thing ever. Even if it's for the money, it's still dumb. I agree. Yes. It makes absolutely zero sense to me. What's going on with the mighty Gators, Brent?
Gators, the optimism still continues, to say the least. I've seen some things about the Florida offense. They returned 9 players who had at least 100 snaps in 2025, including 6 multiple game starters. So that, I think, is a real plus. 15 offensive players in the portal. I think right now that's probably pretty normal all the way around. The returning production may not be that great, but they've got experienced players, and I think that's going to be something that is going to be helping them. I think this new coaching staff, they really know what they're doing. Offensively, it's going to take a while. They've got one of the better running backs in the nation in Baugh. So I think there's a lot more optimism about Florida than we've seen in a while. Still a lot of excitement, I think, or at least some curiosity about the new stadium. And as for when I say new stadium, or the stadium being refurbished for $1.45 billion, which is a mouthful. But look, that's kind of where we are. And I still hear that they're not going to give away any seats. So that's going to be fascinating to see how that happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a good thing. It's going to take some time, but it is a big price tag, but hopefully it'll
Yes.
be well worth it. What's going on with the Georgia Bulldogs?
I think the big thing with Georgia is the series with Florida State that they cancel home and home, but they're going to play now in Nashville. That's going to happen 27-28. As they get that going, a neutral site game in Nashville. Now, Nashville, you may know a lot more about the Shane than the average person, is they shot this thing around to Atlanta, Charlotte, Miami, New Orleans, Orlando, and Tampa, and they ended up in Nashville. The Titans have basically have a new stadium that's going to be ready for that in 2028. So, it's kind of an unusual situation, frankly, in that they scrapped the home and home series and they went to having it in a neutral site. But the reality is, neutral site games, Shane, they kind of come and they go. They're a little more popular now for various reasons, trying to get out for recruiting and so forth. So we'll watch that one. And one more Georgia note, which I thought was interesting, is that Colton Nussmeier from the Nussmeier family has been ruled ineligible to play for Denton, Texas, Brian, this fall. I'm not sure all what's going on there. They've had a vote on it with their district executive committee, so he is not going to be playing. He was hurt last year. So that means that in recruiting, and Georgia is very interested in him. Frankly, he's a very good quarterback, but his future remains in doubt, to say the least.
Yeah, they'll just move to another state for him to be able to play. But at least Texas has strict rules on transferring and stuff. It's not like the state of Florida where you can go anywhere you possibly want to play.
True.
As long as you have transportation. Makes no sense. All right, what's going on with the LSU Tigers?
LSU excited with Lane Kiffin in the fold. They've got a transfer Kansas State kid, Jace Brown. They liked him in spring camp with what he could do. They're pretty excited about that. Jackson Harris, Winnie Watkins are some names they're looking up. They've got the one of the best running backs in Louisiana. Just committed to them. Trey Martin is his name. He's going to come over. So as you would think, with Lane Kiffin in the fold, LSU is recruiting well, and they're getting some of the bigger names. So you get your best running back in your state, and that's a real plus for you.
Speaking of LSU, AMAC on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plum, wants to know, Brent, what impact will the loss of the rapper and wide receiver Tusi be to LSU's football pro? First of all, I saw this on Twitter. I don't know who Tusi is.
Yeah,
I don't really know the story to this thing. I don't know what's going on.
This guy was they thought he was going to play football, and then he decided, well, his rapping career, shall we say, is kind of priority for him right now. I mean, the kid can play if he wanted to play, but look, Shane, if you make a lot of money and not get hit, that's probably a pretty good thing too, is it not? So this has kind of made the rounds. But look, if you're an LSU fan, do not fear about that because you'll be okay. But I still hear from LSU beat writers and that there needs to be a pause here. They're going to be good, and they will be better, particularly by the end of the year. But the reality is they are not where they need to be yet on the line of scrimmage. And again, they'll improve as year goes along. They've got some big games. We mentioned the Ole Miss game. They start with Clemson. After the Ole Miss game, they come home and play Texas A&M. So, the record may not be indicative of how good they will be by the end of the year. Is that a fair statement, Shane?
Yeah, I think so. Gallo Car Wash is locally owned by UF alum and the only car wash that provides NIL opportunities to Gator athletes. Locations are Northwest 13th Street, Wilson Road, and coming soon to Jonesville and the city of Alachua. All right, Brent, Oklahoma, they got a tough schedule. They're feeling pretty good right now. Their baseball team has a chance to win a national title. What can you tell us about the Sooners?
Yeah, I saw that Georgia game last night. Oklahoma just really overwhelmed Georgia, although Georgia had a really good year. The Oklahoma schedule is out. UTEP they begin with, and they've got a huge game at Michigan, so that's going to be fun to see how that goes along. They've got an early game with Georgia, so how about that, Shane? You're playing at Michigan, then you're playing at Georgia in the month of September. The Texas game will be October the 10th, obviously in Dallas. Then you come back and you've got Kentucky, Mississippi State, and South Carolina. So that will help them. They go to Florida on November the 7th, and that should be a whole lot of fun. And then they play Ole Miss. So, boy, what a schedule that they have got. But they think that they're going to be better than the guys they had hurt on the offensive side of the ball. We know they'll be good defensively. I think the reality is, will Mateer be back healthy? He should be. And if he is, after struggling last year, how will they be? So they are a team to be watching, no doubt.
They are. What's up with the Volunteers?
They have done some pretty good recruiting themselves. Kenneth Simon the second is a 4-star that they have recently gotten from Brentwood. He flipped from Alabama to Tennessee. So that's important for them. And they're kind of on a heater in recruiting right now. Tight end Malik Howard of Oak Ridge. They're getting a lot of kids from the state of Tennessee, which always helps them. So I think that's going to be interesting. They've made a lot of changes on their staff, which I think some of those are going to be for the better. And I'm not even saying they're going to be a team to watch because they've got to find a quarterback this year too. But I think defensively, that their defense will keep them in a lot of games until their offense can get going this year.
Yeah. The Texas Longhorns, they won the all sports trophy in the country. They're rolling right along.
That's quite a feat for them. And as a matter of fact, Texas has won the Directors Cup 5 times in the last 6 years, which is really very impressive to say the least. Frankly, the track team has done well. They won the cup in 21, 22, 24, and 25, 26. So we knew they'd make a difference when they came in. And Shane, you understand that program well. They've just got a lot of sports, frankly. The women do well. The women finished third in basketball, swimming and diving, and beach volleyball. Not everybody has beach volleyball, to say the least. But give AD Chris Del Conte credit for what they've done in Austin.
Yeah, they are the big school, a lot of sports, and they do very well. What can you tell us about the ACC before we get you out of here, Brent?
Yeah, Dabo Swinney's been quoted a few times about not having rules, and they need that. So he has been, when people want to quote, they kind of go to Dabo with that too. Florida State's lost a player, Dayon Cooper, 3-star linebacker. He's from South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, backed off his commitment to FSU and is still kind of looking around. Also, Miami, as you can imagine, is doing well in recruiting. Frankly, Nick Lanier, wide receiver, quarterback Dante Wright, some prospects associated with Miami. So, look, the Canes, we think, have turned the corner as far as in coaching, as far as in recruiting. They are predicted to be in the top 10 pretty well every magazine that we've got so far, Shane. So that's been the exciting thing for them overall. But again, we're watching what goes on in Congress, what comes out today. We've got every magazine out except Phil Steele. So, Shane, it's amazing what goes on now during the summer that we never had years ago, right?
Yeah, it's a busy, busy time. No question about it. Brent, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week, my man.
Good. Always enjoy it, bud. Take care.
Brent Beaird, college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, joins us on the Titan Memorial Hotline. UF grad Michael Schneider, a real estate attorney, can help you save thousands of dollars in real estate commissions by helping you sell your home or land by owner without a broker. Michael Schneider, PLLC, serves the entire state of Florida. Contact Michael at maschneiderplc.com. Quick timeout, come back. When JC takes over. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the International Diamond Center Studios. We'll be right back.
Our premium sponsors are Atlantic Roofing, Campus USA Credit Union, International Diamond Center, J.F. Hayden's Craft Liqueurs, Los Landeros Tequila, Meldon Law, Titan MRI and Imaging, Castaway Sauce, UF Health Orthopedics, Michael Schneider PLLC, Florida Legends Gala and Experience, Money Metals, Sensei Asian Bistro. Our gridiron sponsors are Baker Sports, Florida Cracker Oyster, Gallo Car Wash, Miapa Latin Cafe, Peachland Dental, Quality Plumbing, Ruse Ogre State Farm, Silverback Concrete, 84 Lumber, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Florida Cracker Kitchen, Gator Dominoes, Ironwood Golf Course, McDonald's of Gainesville, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, UF Bookstores, International Gold and Diamond, Advocare, and MGA&A Wealth. Watch and listen to us live on Facebook or YouTube. Listen to podcasts wherever, on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And to advertise, be sure to call my man Freddie at 352-284-3733.
Recent price spikes in groceries, healthcare, gasoline, steel, and lumber tell the story of inflation. As the reality of all this inflation sinks in, investors will be acting quickly to diversify and protect themselves, their families, and their assets. Low transaction costs are one reason Investopedia calls Money Metals the best dealer in America. Don't waste any more time. Start protecting your savings today with physical precious metals at moneymetals.com/go.
When the late, great Charlie Daniels would need a place for jewelry he could trust, he turned to International Gold, Diamond, and Watch Exchange.
Hi, I'm Charlie Daniels, and I live in Tennessee, but when I get ready to do something serious about jewelry or a gift for my wife or somebody, I always get in touch with the folks at International Gold and Diamond Exchange here in Gainesville. There's a lot of reasons for that. One reason is they sell nothing but the best.
Find out what Charlie was talking about for yourself at International Gold, Diamond, and Watch Exchange at 3440 West University Avenue and online at igdwex.com.
By now, you heard about the Florida Legends Experience and Gala, featuring Gator Heisman greats Tim Tebow, Danny Warfel, and Steve Spurrier, all in one place at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Imagine catching a pass or taking a handoff from a Heisman winner, all while supporting Isaiah 117 to help provide safe, loving homes for children in need. Then enjoy an unforgettable evening at the Gala, filled with great food and lasting memories. Don't miss this historic event. Find out how you and your business can get involved at fllegends.com. That's fllegends.com.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat, bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
All right, good morning, everybody. Here we go. Second half of Matthews in the Morning here on a beautiful Thursday in June. Weather's hot, weather's humid. We've got soccer. We've got the conclusion of the College Baseball World Series, which typically ends my sports year for the 2025-2026 season, but with the World Cup and with the U.S. Open this weekend on Father's Day, final round. We've got a lot to discuss and a lot to talk about. I'm going to try to find you folks some angles that you can use perhaps to maybe monetize
your weekend and help pay for that big Father's Day that you have coming up this Sunday. So we've got currently today a fog delay or a slight delay. I don't know if the U.S. Open has begun yet, but Shinnecock Hills is your course. And this is a typically difficult layout. It resembles a links or is a links golf course setting. They've had the U.S. Open at Shinnecock, which is in, I think it's Southampton, New York, and Long Island. And this year, we've got a great field, of course, as usual. Lots of players from all over the world trying to win the third major of the 2026 golf season. And, I really had to say, when I looked at some of the odds for winner, I saw Tommy Fleetwood, I saw Matthew Fitzpatrick, guys that I like and that I picked on with Shane yesterday on the show. But Scotty Scheffler was also one of my picks, and he's getting close to 6-1. And you just don't have Scotty Scheffler at those pre-tournament odds that often. And at 550, where I caught him, he was 275 last year. But this year, he's tied for third. He's tied for fourth. He's tied for 12th. He's tied for 24th. He's had 3 outright second-place finishes and 1 outright third, and I think 1 win. So it's really been not a struggle, but I think he's showing that he is indeed human. And, that tournament in Dallas that he played where he shot 38 under or something like that a year ago, he also contended for that, but did not win it. I think that was Wyndham Clark that won that. So QB has Cameron Young, Xander Schauffele, which I love in this tournament, Justin Rose, JJ Spahn, and Matsuyama. I'll get to Xander in a minute. I'm going with Fitzpatrick, Hovland, Scotty Scheffler, Rory, John Rahm, and Terrell Hatton. And I'll try to defend some of those picks. We'll also talk about the World Cup, United States and Australia, the Socceroos, who came out with a very impressive 2-0 win over Turkey, and the United States with the story of the tournament in terms of at least coming out of the gates with a massive win, 4-1, and last week, and that just outright blew out the team they played in that game. And I got to say, I was surprised by that. I did not see the United States scoring 4 goals, but the United States and Australia tomorrow at 3:00 in Seattle for that's where the Seahawks play, and they call it Seattle Stadium now because that's how they do it in soccer. So we'll touch on that. We've also got the College World Series to quickly discuss as well. Oklahoma just sending the Georgia Bulldogs to the airport yesterday, beat them twice in less than a week on the biggest stage in college baseball. So I was very impressed with Oklahoma. North Carolina dusted off West Virginia. So we are set for the finals between OU and North Carolina in Omaha to win the national championship in college baseball. So let's start with golf. Scotty Scheffler, as I mentioned, plus 550. He celebrates his 30th birthday on June 21st. That's Sunday. And like I said, he is your odds-on favorite. Top 3 finishes in all 4 majors include Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, John Rahm, Xander Schauffele, Jason Day, and Jordan Spieth. This golf course is going to play very windy and very difficult. Lots of bunkers, 160 bunkers, elevated greens. But the step meter is only going to run between 11.5 and 12, and I say only, by U.S. Open standards, which we've seen up to 13. That is not as fast. If you get some rain, it could soften up the conditions. It could make the course longer. And certainly driving accuracy is going to be very important to keep the ball out of the rough, because that could be a 1-stroke penalty easily or more if you go wayward with your drives. How could that affect the tournament? Well, windy conditions are forecast up to 20 to 30 mile an hour gusty winds. If you get a crosswind, you're really going to have to be compensating for that on the tee box to just give yourself a chance. Par is a good score at the U.S. Open. So who am I looking at in this other than Scotty Scheffler, who I have? I like Tommy Fleetwood. He's great around the greens. He's not that long but he's long enough, and he's a good positional driver. He'll put the ball where he needs to off the tee to give him a shot at making par or better. And like I said, he's very good around the greens. He's plus 1750, and a top 10 finish gets you 2-1 odds. So I like Tommy Fleetwood. Matthew Fitzpatrick, 3-time winner, 4th on approach this year. He's also plus 1750, and he's 2-1 to get in the top 10. He's 4th in regulation hitting the green. So 4th in greens in regulation. Matthew Fitzpatrick, 3-time winner this year. I'm taking him at 1750. Russell Henley, winner this year on tour. Last six top 10s in the last 14 U.S. Opens. 6 top 10s for Russell Henley. He's 30-1. I think you get value with that at 30-1. Top 10, he's 3-1. I like that. I mentioned Tyrrell Hatton. He's plus 350, top 10. He's 40-1. I think I'm going to get on that. Tied for 3rd in the Masters, tied for 4th last year in the U.S. Open. And in 2018, when they played this tournament in Shinnecock, when Brooks Koepka won, beating Tommy Fleetwood at Shinnecock on this course 8 years ago, Tyrrell Hatton finished 6th. He's a 3-time winner in the Dunhill Links. If the weather gets nasty, Tyrrell Hatton's a guy that I think can navigate himself around the golf course in bad weather. And like I said, last year, he was really good chasing down J.J. Spahn. Not quite catching him there at the end, but had a good finish last year at the U.S. Open, tied for 4th. Sam Burns, 30-1, great putter. He tied for 7th last year at Oakmont. He's 4th at the Memorial this year. He was the 3rd-round leader last week, Canadian Open. He's 6th on tour in putting, and putting, of course, is going to be vital. You can't 3-putt these greens and win this tournament. I really like Sam Burns, 30-1. Why not? Plus 325, top 10 finish wager there. Xander Schauffele in the U.S. Open. I mentioned him earlier. Shane took him, and Xander Schauffele has never finished outside of the top 20. And 9 years in a row at the U.S. Open. Now, I'm just talking about the U.S. Open. He's never finished out of the top 20. And for 9 straight years, he's finished tied for 15th or better at the U.S. Open. Not at this course, but at the U.S. Open. I think he likes the pressure and the conditions that you get at the U.S. Open. In this particular major, it is vital to keep it in, not to avoid the big numbers like it would be in any major, of course. But he's really been a good finisher in these majors. And I have a quirky little trend for you in the U.S. Open. This is per Wes Reynolds. I heard this from Wes Reynolds on the Visa Network. The last 3 winners at Shinnecock, Corey Pavin, Retief Goosen, and Brooks Koepka in the U.S. Open, they were all going into those tournaments in the official golf rankings ranked 9th. Pavin, Goosen, Koepka. Who was ranked 9th this year? That would be none other than your defending champion, J.J. Spahn. So I like that silly little trend that Wes Reynolds shared with us on his podcast as he gets ready for the U.S. Open. I don't know who you folks like, but I gave you some names there. I think it makes sense to definitely go with guys who can positionally place their tee shots and give themselves a chance at par. I don't know if the wind is going to be as bad as maybe they forecast earlier in the week, but still 20 to 25 mile an hour wind gusts are difficult. That's difficult to deal with in any case. Cam Young, I think, will do well here as well. Very long. Winning score under par. This is MSRK I4L. I think the winning score under par will be a little bit lower than last year. Last year at Oakmont, 2 under, I think, won it. It was tough. They were around even par the whole tournament. I think we're going to be looking at somewhere around -4, -5 this year. I don't know why I feel that way. I have no reason to feel that way. I just think that the length isn't quite there. The windy conditions, though, can really make this tragic for these guys. So we'll see how the positional tee times work for the players. You have to really look at this before you throw down some, round bets. Because the guys playing maybe in the morning will have an advantage over the guys in the afternoon, and of course, vice versa. It could be the other way around. But I think the guys teeing off earlier today and later tomorrow generally will see maybe fewer hazardous conditions around the golf course, because the wind in this tournament can really change the fortunes of a certain player just because of when he tees off. And so At some point, they even talked about this week that if it gets too punitive out there, they will halt play because they will label the course as unplayable. And if that's the case, then who knows, right? So again, it's Fitzpatrick, it's Fleetwood, it's Henley, all to win and top 10 bets for me. Terrell Hatton as well to win top 10. I also like Sam Burns to win or top 10. And I've got Scotty Scheffler. I did a funny little thing with Scotty Scheffler. He's coming in at 550, but before the soccer games the day before yesterday, when France blew out somebody and I had Norway blowing out somebody. Anyway, I parlayed those three big favorites. They all covered with Scotty Scheffler. It turned into a 4-leg parlay, and it came out to 15.5 to 1. So now basically I have Scotty Scheffler because I hit those 3 legs in the soccer, which were prohibitive favorites in their games. Hitting those 3 legs now gets me Scotty Scheffler at 15.5 to 1. So I'm really happy about how that worked out. I get a guy like Scotty Scheffler at 15.5 to 1. I like my chances. Let's bring in Zach Rothrock as we mentioned the soccer, the World Cup.
Yeah,
and
man.
you know, Zach, I can't see you on my screen, but I know you're on here. Maybe that's just because my laptop is crap, or I don't really know what. I see just a black screen.
Probably a Zoom thing. We'll keep it moving there.
Phone. I see you at the phone there. So with the World Cup, United States really turned some heads getting 4 goals against South Africa, I think it was. And was it South Africa? So
they played Paraguay.
They played Paraguay. What the hell is wrong with me? Czechia plays South Africa. I was just looking at them. That's Group A. America's in Group D. It just really all kind of flows together here. I don't know why I couldn't see that. Nevertheless, all right. United States is playing Australia tomorrow. Australia shocked the world by beating Turkey. I do remember that 2-0 in Group D. We'll get to today's games in a moment, but what do you have, or what is your take? United States minus 170 tomorrow, almost a 2-1 favorite. Very, very, very short numbers there. They played Australia on October 14th, 2025. Last year, they played Australia, and they beat them 2-1. This game is in Seattle at 3 o'clock tomorrow as part of Group D. The total is 2.5. That has been predominantly an under number, but with the U.S. all of a sudden becoming this offensive juggernaut, maybe that total easily flies over the 2.5. I don't know. But USA, 12 shots, is tied for 7th right now in the tournament. Australia had 8 shots in their game. That's tied for 29th. Half those shots for both the USA and Australia were on target. 6 shots for the USA on target out of 12. 4 shots for Australia on target out of 8 in their win over Turkey. 4 goals over Paraguay and an easy win for the United States. Do you see an angle here?
Yeah, so what I noticed about Australia with the way they were playing, they played a pretty heavy defensive set. They put those 5 guys in the back, and they had one guy in particular, I think he wore number 19, that he was huge. He was the hugest guy on the pitch by far. So what I anticipate, if they bring that same strategy out, I anticipate the U.S. team, because they stayed very aggressive against Paraguay the whole time, and I think they're going to try to maintain kind of that play style. My favorite type of bet would be USA total shots. I see the Hard Rock app has it available. You can bet it at 13.5, 14.5, 15.5. I like the 15.5 at plus 120. I think they're just going to be firing shots at the goal. They might have a hard time breaking through that Australian defense, but I think the shot attempts are going to be, I think they're going to be aggressive. And I look for U.S. to keep the ball on their side of the field pretty often throughout the game.
That's a good angle to take, and I like that. I don't know really what to think if Australia will play a more defensive type of game after watching that first round.
Right.
Maybe they'll sit back more, try to muddy up the game, slow it down a little bit. But I'm not a soccer strategist. I have no hell idea, even what I'm watching half the time when I watch this stuff, and I only watch it during the World Cup. But,
yeah, same here. I've barely watched. This is just what I observed watching Australia play last time then.
Yeah, but I tell you what, this is not a world beater team in Australia. The Socceroos are good, and they did surprise beating Turkey. It was widely thought that Turkey and the United States would be your top two out of this group, but clearly Turkey couldn't score on Australia. So we'll see if the U.S. can do it. That again is tomorrow at 3:00, Group D. And I just would like to think that if the U.S. can win this or even get a tie, they are clearly on their way through the group stage and on their way potentially to, getting closer to the last 16, even if they get to the elimination stage. Today, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 games, Zach. I don't know if you've seen any of these matchups, if you like them. Let's start with the 12 o'clock game today in Atlanta, Georgia, between Czech Republic, or Czechia, as it's known now, and the South African team. Now, South Africa in their first game, this is why I mentioned South Africa a minute ago. I just remember they've got 2 red cards, meaning those players were eliminated from the game. And I think means as well that they have to sit out the next game. It's a bad thing to get a red card. It's like a bad thing. You're sitting out the next game, I believe to be the case. Somebody correct me if that's wrong. I think that's true, though. South Africa is not going to have 2 of their, starters. Czechia is a 120 favorite. That seems very, very attractive to me. Why? Because I think Czechia was, even though they lost in their first game, I think they're still alive in Group A. I'm going to take Czechia today in that game, or maybe the tie. And in the Hard Rock, you can find an app, a bet rather, that says double chance, and it really kills your odds. But you can put Czechia or a tie, South Africa or a tie. Either one of those things happens, you win that side. If you parlay that. If you parlay the thing called double chance, you can bring those odds down dramatically. If you get a profit boost or some sort of bonus bet on there, you can throw those double chance bets together and really get excited to maybe get an easier way to win these bets in these games. Because with the ties, it really brings another element into your handicapping when you're watching these damn things. And so while we're in the group stage, the third option is going to be a part of it. When we get through the group stage, I believe we get into the elimination stages, ties will no longer be the case. They'll play extra time, and they'll then have penalty kicks if nothing is settled in extra time. 2 15-minute periods, basically 30 extra minutes, plus injury stoppage time. So I'm going to take Czechia today, and I may sprinkle a little bit on the tie, but I think South Africa's toast. I think 2 of those players being out because of the prior red cards is going to be a factor.
Yeah, and for this game, so the South African players, I'm going to butcher these names, but Tembe Zwane and Sithole, the 2 guys that got the red card. So they are both suspended for this upcoming match, and Zwane is actually suspended for 3 matches.
Oh, he really must have done something bad.
Yeah.
Well, and anyway, hopefully he didn't steal the towels in the hotel room. Maybe that's off. But I think it's Czechia in that first game in Atlanta. Then we go to 3:00, Bosnia-Herzegovina. For all of you in the Balkan part of the world, you have Croatia, you have Bosnia in the middle, you have their hated neighbor Serbia. Underneath, you have Kosovo. It used to all be Yugoslavia. Now it's Bosnia. Bosnia and Switzerland. Both teams lost in their first game, but Switzerland's a 2-1 favorite over Bosnia. The tie is 3-1. I'm more likely to maybe look at that, but I think if you parlay Switzerland today with perhaps a bigger favorite later on, like maybe Canada, which is our next game, you may be able to cut those odds down if you want to participate in this game. But both teams have to win, or else they can basically say bye-bye in Group B. Switzerland 0-1-0. So I actually take it back. They tied. They didn't lose. I'm looking at 0-1, and I didn't see the 0. They tied in their game. So they still need to win. They have 1 point in their Group B, but they still need to win. Everybody in Group B, Switzerland, Bosnia, Canada, and Qatar all have 1 point. They all tied in their first game. This game is at SoFi Stadium. They love Los Angeles Stadium. Los Angeles Stadium. They love it out there. Switzerland and Bosnia. I'm probably going to pass on this. I might look at the tie and maybe bet it in game as well. We'll see.
Yeah, I like Switzerland to separate themselves in that group, and then the next game in that same group with Canada and Qatar, I feel like they're going to play to a draw, to maybe a 1-1 draw, pretty similar to the both teams' first matchup. Canada just, I don't know, they just don't necessarily seem like a team that looks like they're priming to advance very far in the tournament. Whereas Qatar, they made a pretty exciting push in their last game, and I don't know, they can make a few things happen.
This is interesting. Qatar is a 10-1 dog in the game alone. The game's in Vancouver.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit much, but I mean, why not though? You know.
But okay, yeah. Tie is almost 5-1 on that game between Qatar and Canada. A couple of passages here on YouTube. Matt 59 C80. These codes. Matt says, "Is it odd that the PGA sent a text out to the U.S. Open golfers to say they are slowing down the greens?" I suppose that is odd. MSRK. What's the over/under on how many cabs get destroyed at the Knicks parade today? I would say 20. No,
I'm taking over on that all day.
I don't know, but they clearly let the animals out of the zoo after the after.
Congratulations
the
to JC on hitting that bet, by the way. And you
called
that
we had the Knicks
out.
Had the Knicks at 8-1. I took that bet before the Knicks played Cleveland.
Yeah,
and I was not sold on Cleveland watching them play the Pistons. New York, you're giving me 8-1. They just wiped the floor with the Sixers and the Hawks, and I thought, I like that 8-1 number, so I took it.
I mean, they dominated.
The thing is that they won 15 out of 16 games. They were the best team in the NBA, and not the Spurs. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, well, the Spurs were winning, should have won, should have this, should have that.
No, they weren't. They were too immature. They weren't ready yet.
Yeah, if my parents weren't 5'6" when they were married and had me, I would be probably taller. These ifs don't mean anything. I'm 5'9", but I'm the tallest guy in our family, that's for sure. I don't know. But the point is that there are no excuses. The Knicks were the better team. They were the better team. They were the best team in the playoffs. They had this thing about never giving up that I really respected from the Knicks. And they had the best player on the court in Jalen Brunson, period. And that's the end of the NBA. That is what happened. And so, because that's what happened, that's the reality. So the Knicks, and yes, the Cavs are going to, I don't know if the Cavs will get destroyed during the daytime. Maybe I can see why at night in that area, New York, Philadelphia. I mean, the people are nuts.
I think
many good people in there.
I'm not.
I mean, there's great people up there, but dear Lord, the animals took over after that win, and it was ridiculous. All right, so moving forward, we have Barone. Do you handicap Aussie football? Barone, I'm sorry, I do not, but I'm trying to help you here with the World Cup and, of course, the golf. I think I've got solid plays on golf for you, and I do like some top 10 finishes in that, as I mentioned. All right, so we talked about Canada, Qatar. Look, expect a low-scoring game there. Total's 2.5. I'd almost look at the under.
Yeah, I'd
6
say under.
p.m. Yeah, 6 p.m. in Vancouver. Then tonight at 9 o'clock, another team that gets the advantage of playing in their home country to start off the World Cup is Mexico. Avocados from Mexico. And Mexico and South Korea are going to get together at 9 o'clock in Guadalajara. The place will be just packed. And they played their first game in Mexico City. They go down to Guadalajara now. And both teams are 1-0 in Group A. Mexico is a plus. Both teams getting plus odds on this game.
Yeah, I like
plus
that.
110. South Korea plus 300. The tie plus 210. Maybe you take two bets and just hope to win one of them, and you still win money if you bet the same amount. If it's all plus odds, you obviously root for either South Korea in the tie or Mexico in the tie. I guess I'll stick with the home team, but I was impressed with the way South Korea attacked. They're a 3-1 dog.
Absolutely.
If I was looking at a dog today between South Africa, Bosnia, Qatar, and South Korea, I'm going to definitely take South Korea getting 3-1 of those four dogs. Mexico, again, the home team, but this is soccer. And they spend half the time singing to each other in the crowd than really responding to what's going on in the game because of the 10 players on the pitch. 9 of them are standing around, maybe. So, and I love this stuff. I'll watch this. I watched it last night to the end in a very entertaining game. So I think South Korea and Mexico, pretty even matchup, but you're going to give me 3-1. I think I'll take that.
So I like a tie in the Czech game. with South Africa. I like a tie in the Canada-Qatar game. I do like Switzerland. And then this late game with Mexico and South Korea. To me, that's the game of the day because both these games, as you said, they did look really great in their opening game. I think I like taking Mexico with the plus odds. Just with the naked eye, France probably looked like the most skillful team from an individual standpoint. But I feel
and
like,
Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina, of course.
I grabbed
them out, but
grabbed both of them to win. Yeah.
The Mexican players individually from a ball control standpoint, I mean, they seem like they're just a couple of notches below that. They're very highly skilled as a whole team, and so I do like Mexico to get another win against a South Korea team that looked really good also.
Let's get to some more YouTube questions here. Clint Clements. We love Clint. Clint going to PCB in July. Zach, what is PCB? Do you know what he's talking? Where Palm Coast Beach?
That's a good guess.
But it sounds like it's out of here. Out of this, it says, will it be too early for me to place a bet on Hard Rock for Florida to beat Georgia? You can do that anytime, I think. But I haven't checked the futures on individual games. I've just looked at win totals. So maybe it will be July. I would say maybe in August we'll see some more game lines. But the game lines are sticky because, or not sticky, but they're tricky because we obviously have injury issues. We don't know anything about any of these teams. We can only predict who we think is going to win. I would advise not betting on any game and just looking at win totals right now if you have to get involved in college football. MSRK, another good viewer. I4L, JC, your Yankees are on fire. They are, and they're doing all of this without Aaron Judge. They are getting contributions from Bellinger and some other random players out there. Paul Goldschmidt. People are just contributing. I love Jose Caballero. He plays everywhere. I really think that getting text messages now, but I really think the Yankees showing a little separation as the Rays struggle out in Los Angeles against the Dodgers like everybody does. And by the way, I think a week ago somebody said, why don't you like the Brewers in the National League? Because we all saw what happened last year. I don't see why it would be any different unless Mizorowski pitches every game for the Brewers. But the Brewers were the hot team in the National League last year. And they then met up with the Dodgers in the playoffs and politely were dismissed. And actually it wasn't very polite what the Dodgers did to the Brewers. I don't see why it's going to be any different. It's all about pitching and Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and everyone else that the Dodgers have, which seems so unfair. And, Yoshi's a great pitcher. So thank you for that on the Yankees. We'll see if they can hold on. It's time for the College World Series wrap up here as we have a few more minutes. Look, but folks, everybody knows that Georgia was the best team in the SEC this year during the season. They won the SEC tournament. They won the SEC regular season. You know what that got them today? It got them a nice memory as they fly home after being dispatched by the Oklahoma Boomer Sooners. And we always talk about who gets hot at the right time in these spring sports, and it is OU. They are hitting the ball. They are not my favorite team, but you got to respect what Oklahoma's done. Literally a mediocre team during the season. They can tell their nieces and nephews at Georgia how they won the SEC in 2026. And then those kids, if they're smart, will say, so did you win the national championship? And they'll say no. And who won? It's either North Carolina or Oklahoma. And what happened? Well, Oklahoma beat our ass. And that's all anybody's going to remember. That's all anybody's going to care about. I know the SEC's coaches love it. It's a thing. It's a boost in the contract. But winning the national championship is what we are here to talk about. Oklahoma is plus 155. I'm getting them now. North Carolina has better pitching, but we're only talking winning 2 out of 3 games. Maybe North Carolina's pitcher isn't as good as Cord Rager will be in game 1 for Oklahoma, a freshman lefty who has such good movement on his pitches. I'm taking Oklahoma. We're out of time. We'll talk more about this tomorrow on Matthews in the Morning. Thank you to Zach for contributing with me. But I'll be back at 8 o'clock tomorrow and continue this about Oklahoma. I like the Sooners because of the way they are hitting the ball, pitching the ball, and they're red hot. We'll see you tomorrow. Good luck with your bets in soccer and golf. We'll see you at 8 o'clock with Shane Matthews tomorrow, Matthews in the Morning.